What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the video. So as you can see by the title of the video, what I wanted to discuss here is mini cuts. I've been getting asked a lot about a mini cut, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to go over it. So while I discuss this, I'm also going to be taking you through my latest overhead press workout, which is also a full upper body workout. So I'm not going to show you every single set, but I do include all of the exercises that I've done. And just to keep in mind, this was my accessory week where I did 12 to 15 reps on all accessories. So that's what you'll be seeing, a bit lighter weight, but more reps than other weeks. So getting to mini cuts, basically, in here you see my headphones broke. So the Kenevo, they lasted a long time, but for 25 bucks, what do you expect? So anyway, a mini cut, first let me define it. I would define a mini cut as basically cutting from about 4 to 6 weeks and maybe a maximum of 8 weeks. But it's really a cut of 4 to 6 weeks. And the goal of the mini cut is not necessarily to get lean, it's not necessarily to get ready for like a contest or anything. It's really when you're bulking and you feel like maybe you put on a little bit too much weight, maybe over a holiday or over some kind of vacation, you put on a little bit more fat than you wanted to. You're not really in the mood to go on a long extended cut, but you're not really comfortable bulking anymore until you get a little bit of that fat off. So the mini cut is perfect for that. It's really just taking a couple steps backwards before you go a little forward, just to put yourself in a better position so you feel more comfortable with your body fat. So how do you go about the mini cut? Since the mini cut is really a very short cut, I recommend being aggressive on it because, as you know, or maybe you don't know, but when you cut, typically the first month or so is the easiest part. You drop calories, but your strength doesn't go down at all. In fact, sometimes it actually increases. You don't really feel too hungry, and the first month you kind of breeze by. So in that first month, you typically could be a little bit more aggressive because you have more fat. Muscle loss isn't really too big of a risk. So what I recommend doing is, if you're going to start the mini cut right away, I would just drop 500 calories immediately. So where those calories come from is carbs and fat. I would leave your protein as is unless you're already eating way too much protein, then maybe you could adjust it. But I would typically leave protein as is and make the adjustment mostly from carbs and fat. And like I said, 500 calories. So you could also add cardio, but for the first week I would typically just do 500 calories, take that off, and then continue that way. So 500 calories is pretty aggressive, but like I said, when you first start a cut, you're coming off of a caloric surplus, muscle loss isn't really too big of a risk, and you should be able to see pretty dramatic increases without really losing any muscle initially by doing that. As far as cardio is concerned, you could do cardio. It really depends how much cardio you're currently doing. So if you're not doing any cardio, then you could maybe, as you do your 500 calorie decrease, you could also maybe add in one cardio session. But typically I would wait a week and then maybe add the cardio. See how much weight you lose the first week. Possibly you won't even need to do any cardio. And overall, your weight loss goal should be maybe 1 to 2 pounds per week. You could go closer to 2 pounds per week because you're only going to be doing it for maybe 4 to 6 weeks. So 1 to 2 pounds over that time. You could probably lose about 10 pounds in that time. And then when the mini cut's over, just increase your calories back up slowly to get them where they were initially. And that way you can go back on your bulk and not take too many steps backwards. I mean, do keep in mind, if you're trying to gain muscle, the mini cut is going to be taking a step backwards, but you could kind of look at it as taking one step backwards to take 2 steps forward. Yes, ideally you wouldn't have to mini cut, you wouldn't have to use those 4 to 6 weeks to be in a caloric deficit, because obviously that's not beneficial for muscle growth. But building muscle isn't everyone's primary goal. If you don't feel comfortable with how much body fat you have, you probably should lose it. And also, I do find it is a little bit beneficial sometimes when your body's in a caloric surplus for such a long time. It gives you a chance to reset yourself a little bit, and then you could possibly even add muscle a little bit quicker once you do the mini cut and add the calories back in. Also, maybe you're at a point where you're sick of eating, so by doing the mini cut for a few weeks, maybe you'll actually get an appetite back, so that when you go back to increasing your calories, you'll be able to eat it without forcing food down. But overall, just to sum up what I would do, a mini cut, 4 to 6 weeks. I would drop 500 calories the first week, see how it goes. If you drop too much weight, leave it. I would just leave it and keep going. If you don't drop enough weight, the next week you could add some cardio in. If that doesn't work the following week, try dropping calories by another 300 or so and add more cardio in. Muscle loss is not too big of a risk because, like I said, when you're cutting initially, you don't really start to lose strength and muscle till you get deeper in. So be aggressive in the beginning. Make sure you only do it for 4 to 6 weeks, because if you end up trying to cut longer, then being aggressive isn't a great idea. You could lose muscle, you could lose strength. So feel free to be aggressive, and that's basically the mini cut. So I mean, me personally, I've never even done a mini cut because I've only done long extended cuts, but people ask me all the time about them, and I think they are actually a great idea because not everyone wants to go on a long extended cut. If you're a teenager, you really should probably be in a caloric surplus most of the time trying to build muscle. You don't really want to be wasting months at a time cutting. But if you have that trip coming up, it's summer, take 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, just be aware it's not going to most likely help you in your muscle building process, but if you're fine taking a step back, maybe it'll set you back 2 months. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's your body, it's your choice. If that's what you want to do, go for it. So that's all I have for this voiceover. Hope you learned something. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave it below. The workout footage has a little bit more coming up, so enjoy the rest of the workout.